COVID hits, we're now gifted with time. Did we imagine it would be 8-9 figures of rev that we could get to with this thing? Absolutely not. The business plan was, let's sell 20 of these. Cold, we were like category creator. Sauna existed.
Yes.
What can we do that's different to actually find our niche?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brand Fathers. We have a special episode. A couple weeks ago, you saw Ashwin do a one-on-one interview, and I have the privilege of having Ryan here, one of the co-founders of Plunge. So we're going to chat about the founding of Plunge, the best cold plunge in the market. In my opinion, they've expanded into saunas. They are one of the best brands that I have seen at basically brand marketing and influencer marketing for a high ticket item. So without further ado, we will jump in. Ryan, welcome to my humble abode. We're getting to know each other quite well here.
I think we're playing footsies down here.
For purposes of this camera, we are going to get to know each other quite well. We'll do like knees to knees, almost like a therapy session.
A little eye gaze or something?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so give us a little bit of the background. So you are a co-founder of Plunge. Yep. How long have y'all been in an operation?
Next week, which we are in the first week of September, will be 5 years.
No way.
Yeah. So we had our first sale. It was like September 10th, 2020. Turned on the Shopify store within an hour. Someone had purchased. We hadn't done any organic market. Like it was one of those moments where it was like, holy shit, this might be a thing. Like, how did this person find us? And
wow.
so that we're coming up on 5 years. Classic story, literally launching out of my co-founder's garage. And, it came from kind of COVID. We were definitely a COVID birth business. Our backgrounds are in health and wellness, but like brick and mortar service businesses. Mike and I both own separately, but like float tank, infrared sauna, massage studios. He has in the Bay Area. I'm in Sacramento. So we got to know each other through that. Like this was our lifestyle. We were into this, but also like totally separate skill sets of an e-commerce hardware manufacturing business. COVID hits, those get shut down. We're now gifted with time, and Mike was really the proactive person here. Cold plunging wasn't a market. Really, the competition at the time was chest freezers. That was what people were doing. There was a niche community. There was Wim Hof. He had his Vice documentary, came out like 2013, 2014.
Okay.
That was like the first time on the map, like, cold water on more of a mainstream.
And that's like going to a local lake in Michigan or something.
Get in cold water and then have breath work when you're outside of cold. And Wim was the first to kind of bring it to the masses into how he was talking about it, brought it into like a research lab scenario. And it was like, there's real science behind this. But there wasn't anything really emerging from a category. It was definitely like the biohacker, super early adopter. Mike is the one kind of pushing me at the time of like, hey man, I think there's a market here. And we're kind of looking at each other, but like, why hasn't anyone done it? Like really, one of those moments. Is it us? And he starts tinkering with it and building this unit in his garage. He pitches me on the business. I first said no. I'm not a product guy. He leads our product roadmap. He's the design, the aesthetics that people
What's
have come
your
to
specialty?
The easiest way we do it on people, he thinks. So I oversee a lot more of the sales side, partnerships, team culture. Where we overlap the most is probably marketing, and he's much more design aesthetics.
Okay.
I'm more of like brand partnerships and who are we aligning with and storytelling.
Perfect.
So that's kind of how we delineate. He starts developing the product. He pitches me. I said no. I just couldn't see. It looked pretty like a garage project still. Then he brings it back a few weeks later, and it was like, whoa. And it wasn't much different than the first gen unit that came out of the gates and most people saw on the internet. And I was like, let's do it. And the business plan was, let's sell 20 of these to our brick and mortar. We have our email list here. Mm-hmm. We know there's a community of health and wellness people. Let's email them and say, this is what we've been working on over the pandemic.
Yeah.
Who's interested? We hand delivered in his van, like our first 20 customers, and we were building them in the garage, just like a true story. That was the genesis.
And so was the first one, so you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned the meat freezer thing. For people who don't know, my first cold plunge experience is a good buddy of mine who did the whole like, get an old meat freezer. And like, there's a kind of janky attachment that you add onto it that will like cool the water.
And you might get shocked.
Dude, every time I get in that thing, I'm like, am I about to be electrocuted? Or like, is this thing going to shut on my head? Like it is, it's not for the faint of heart. It's like tucked in the back of his garage.
The ultimate like marriage room. Like dudes wanted it. Wives were like, dude, get this out of my house.
Totally, man. It's a scary experience. I feel like that adds to some of it. I'm like, this thing better not shut on my head when I go dunk but also the wires are there and you have to like make sure to unplug one side. And so that was my, baptism by fire, if you will. And so that was the kind of predominant thing that was going on during COVID.
That was the thing. There was like a community that was fringe that was doing it.
Yeah.
And I think we thought there were enough people that we were into it. We were cold plunging. Yep. I would go to a local facility. Mike had the chest freezer. So we're like, I think there's enough here. Did we imagine it would be 8-9 figures of rev that we could get to with this thing? Absolutely not. I just thought there's enough people. This could be a business.
Yeah.
Or a side project. Sure. I honestly thought that. And we sold really quick. The big win we had early on from like a brand, we made a big early choice around, obviously we're called Plunge. That is, at the time, ice bath was 10x the search to cold plunge.
Really?
On Google. And that was the predominant, not that was a big search term, but that was, I do ice baths. That was kind of the term.
Yeah.
But in our group, it was, I cold plunge. And we were like, I think this will be the industry term. Like we are making a big bet on it. So we bought the coldplunge.com for $10.
Okay.
And we weren't SEO. It was kind of first principles. Like we just think this is the right name. So we bought the coldplunge.com for $10. And I was in the garage and now we're first page ranking on Google 4 to 6 weeks into this thing. So no ad spend. You just type in cold plunge. We're the first thing that shows up.
Wow.
And so that was our kind of early expander. We're getting calls now from Florida, Texas, and I'm taking it like, we're
absolutely,
here.
We'll help you. Yeah, totally.
Well, I get off the phone and I'm cutting PVC.
How are we going to figure out how to do this?
How are we going to ship this thing?
Totally.
Like, I don't even know. Like, we've been delivering in a van. And so that was like, from a brand perspective, we went all in on the term. We've now become synonymous with it. There's been huge wins there. We now own Plunge.com, bought it off Plunge, the jazz band out of New Orleans, which is its own crazy story of negotiation 3 years into the business. They held out for longer. I think they made more on that domain than they ever did on touring.
Absolutely. Can you share what the final figure was, or what's it? Is it 5 figures?
Oh, it's higher than 5 figures. It's 6.
Oh my God.
And it was
the band.
And so what that actually turned into for us is now it was a big conversation early on. It was like, we're kind of naming ourselves the thing that we can't really defend. It's like, it's really hard to go by that term. Most people, you create your own brand, and it's a new term and you can get the trademark to it. Long story short, we met with a number of people over this, kind of industry experts trying to be like, what do we do here? And all the feedback was like, don't change anything. It seems to be working. Like, don't get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Long story short, we do have the registered trademark to the term plunge. So we actually own the word in our category. But it was because of those early decisions that we've now been synonymous and been granted that right to purchase the term. So that was a big win. And then the big early around the influencer marketing was Aubrey Marcus out of Austin, Texas, was in a chest freezer on his IG Live. Remember, Mike shot a comment on there like, hey, from the Plunge account. That was like the most, still janky account.
Yes.
Hey, it looks like you're ready for an upgrade.
Yeah.
And Aubrey just responds in the comments like, you serious?
Yeah.
And then he DMs us like, all right, come out next week.
Yeah.
And we're like, we'd never shipped a unit. It was like our first unit that like we had hand delivered a few.
Yeah.
But I'd never done freight. So that was like our first win on the influencer marketing. And a week later, we're at Aubrey's house. And that was a chain reaction for us in the influencer world.
So for people who don't know, Aubrey Marcus is like kind of fitness, kind of spiritual guru, known for some unorthodox relationship approaches. You can look that up if you'd like. One of the brand fathers here, Oren, crossed paths with Marcus and his whole crew, Aubrey and his whole crew down when he was in Austin. So maybe he'll share some stories later. I actually just want to go back to the naming thing. This is really interesting because we get a lot of messages from people who are like early business. What should I name it? Or like, how do I do the logo? Was like icebath.com a thing at that time? And are you just kind of pulling from your gut? Plus, you said you looked at Google search terms. Like, how did you weigh that? And it might be simpler where you're just entrepreneurs. You just got to friggin' figure it out and go.
Yeah, there was thought. It's kind of been our brand ethos that's been there from the beginning. It's like, let's simplify it. Let's call the thing the thing. It's called the Plunge Sauna. That's how we think about it. It's just how we've built the brand. So it started that way. It's an adjective. It's a noun. It can be used in a lot of different playful ways, which we thought was interesting. It was very confusing at first when we had the domain, thecoldplunge.com. Like most people called us the Cold Plunge. And that was our brand. And so we're like, okay, we have to somehow transition off of this eventually, where we did get plunge.com. Yeah. And I think the logo, if you go to our site, and you go back, like you can see the old logo and it looked like we were Supreme or something. The same font, pretty
Box
much.
logo or something.
Yeah, it was which that's more of us as like founder entrepreneur. It's like, don't get caught up in that. I actually think that's like a good, like you kind of can start in like an infant brand.
Yep.
And then there's a moment you get to up level it.
Yeah.
And, 2.5 years in, we brought a real agency in. We did the whole brand rebrand,
identity.
which was a big moment for us to kind of elevate. Thoughtful on the name, not overly thoughtful on the exact logo that we launched with.
So you obsessed the product first and that experience, and then kind of graduated to getting an agency and whatnot to help you.
100%.
Yeah.
Which was its own journey of how to create that logo, which we're very happy with where it ended up.
I think it was great. Yeah. But they did a good job.
I realized in that process, which was all new to me, of like giving a sandbox is the critical part.
Yeah.
We were way too open to start.
Totally.
And it'd be hilarious for people to see the first iterations they came back with.
Well, this is the art of writing a good brief, right? And I think we actually did a brand identity thing when we were looking for a brand identity for the brand fathers. And we walked people through, like, how do you write a brief and how do you give people a bit of the narrow window for that agency to be able to work within. Do you remember the name of the agency?
It was Interact Brands. Yeah, they do a lot in the CPG. They've done a lot of your favorite product logos.
Cool.
So y'all
were happy with them?
We were. I mean, the creative process can be friction. It can be frustrating. It's like soul searching. We're 2.5 in. It's our baby. How do we distill down what we are?
Yep.
And I mean, I've realized for creatives, it's like we needed more direction.
Yeah.
A brief is critical.
All right. So COVID-19 is happening. Yep. Wim Hof was there. Ice bath. People are getting electrocuted in their freezers. Y'all create this product. You get one to Aubrey Marcus.
Yep.
And then what?
We had a strategy at this point of like what we called the network effect. And we had a whiteboard. We were one little office, probably smaller than this. And we're like, let's write down like 20 to 25 names of people that we aligned with values-wise, that had bring value to us. And we're like, if we can get to a majority of these people, we will feel like our brand is like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we are, network effect.
Yep.
And kind of learned this through Tim Ferriss. He had talked about that. And so put these names down. And a lot of this group was pretty well connected. So we're at Aubrey's house. I think our next big one was Andrew Huberman, which he was on his rise. Because this was still early. He had just launched the pod.
Okay.
He had just kind of stepped away from Stanford. His producer, Rob, had just moved out and they were just building their kind of like pod. And so he was on the forefront of that. I remember we drove down to Malibu. We were at Rob's place. We're dropping Andrew off. There's still a video of Andrew. It's like the most epic iPhone video on YouTube.
Really?
Of him just like standing in gravel. And it's like, today's a great day. I've received my plunge. And it's like a shooting on an iPhone video.
Really?
It's like probably 300,000 to 500,000 views on YouTube. It's just like classic. We got there. And then what had happened from that point on?
And just one second, is that on his YouTube or yours?
We posted on ours.
Okay, got it.
It was just this classic iPhone footage, like, hey, Andrew, you shoot a video. It wasn't really thought out what we were doing. It was like, let's just go meet these people. We had this unique moment in time where they allowed us into their home. We're dropping off a very special, it's not a t-shirt, not a supplement.
Yeah.
This is like a big, important, interesting product to them.
Yeah.
So it allowed us to come in. Founders are showing up. They're appreciative of that. And then we would just spend however long, being thoughtful of everyone's time, but it would usually turn into 2 hours with these people.
Yeah.
And we're just like, they're normal, we're normal. And we just kind of would start to build a relationship.
Yeah.
We tend to ask like, hey, is there someone in your life that would love this? That would like this, you think could have an impact on, or they would appreciate this.
Yep.
And then we're at Rich Roll's house, and then we're at, Tony Hawk's house, and then we're at Nija Houston. And like this, like we did 3 of these tours, what we called plunge tours.
Yeah.
We'd rent a U-Haul. Mike and I would, it was just us on an iPhone filming. We're driving down to SoCal today. This is our boards tour. And we're with Laird Hamilton and Nija Houston. And we we've just organized these 3 to 4 drops on, and we did 3 trips and over like a 6-month window. And we had no real deliverables with those people.
Yeah.
There was no ask. The only ask, they would be like, well, what do you guys want? We're like, truly, like, just share it.
Yeah.
And whatever that means.
Yeah.
If that means like Rich Roll ended up doing a 10-minute monologue about us on his podcast, which we could have never paid for.
Oh my gosh.
Andrew did a whole protocol on cold plunging and gave us the protocol and said, go to thecoldplunge.com to get your protocol. Those became 10x outsized, but we didn't have deliverables. And that worked early.
Let me ask you this though, because I think in the early stages of founding, and I see this all the time. I have all these gift boxes right here that companies, how did you have the courage to like know, like, where did that either theory come from that if you just built a good relationship with these people and they love the product, that it will pay off? Because I imagine that you're maybe not cash flow positive yet. You're really worried. Did you not want to be like, hey, okay, we need you to post 5 times and we need you to say this thing about us? How did you have courage to allow that freedom to them? I think it's the right strategy.
At that time, it was two front. It was, I think there was a piece of just personal ego. It was like, man, I feel like I'm bringing value to people that have brought tons of value to my life. Granted, we're operating from a business, but we had some early wins. And then, I really think that early phase, Mike and I are both like, been to Burning Man multiple times, and they have a core value of like one of their tenets of just gifting. And true gifting is you gift it and you don't expect in return.
Sure.
If have an expectation, that's not gifting. And we kind of went with that. Like, let's just trust whatever that we give this. These are good people.
Yeah.
It will come.
Yes.
And that worked out. That strategy did not work later on.
Okay, got it.
Because
we can talk about that. But the list you just rattled off, dude. Andrew Huberman, Rich Roll, Tony Hawk, Nyjah Houston, Laird Hamilton. Actually, I've done this same setup with his wife, Gabby Reese. I went to their house and did a podcast on college sports stuff with her. That's where I met her, at Florida State, actually, because she was a Florida State legend. But they're amazing, and they're totally into...
There was definitely some lost communication. This is a story I haven't really told publicly. Yeah. We went to go deliver there. And, we had been working with them. Obviously, we drove down to Sacramento, 8-hour drive, rented a U-Haul, bringing this
to Malibu, right?
Malibu to their home. And we go set it up. And there was a younger surfer was there. And he's kind of like, yeah, you come set it up here. And we're kind of like setting it up. And we're like, okay, is Gabby and Laird here? And they're like, Gabby's out running errands. And we're like, no, we've been communicating for weeks. Like, we're showing up. We at least, I guess there was some expectation. Like, we're going to meet you guys.
A picture, a video or something.
Like, we're coming down to meet. And clearly it wasn't communicated well. And I remember it was the most humbling moment early in the journey because we were riding highs. We were meeting with all these people.
Totally.
Felt pretty cool. Set the unit up. And they're like, yeah, Gabby's gone. We're like, okay, well, what about Laird? He's like, Laird's pretty busy. And like looked at us like that. And we're like, okay. And we're like, can you at least go in? Like, now I just felt like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you at least go in to see if he's willing to come out?
Yeah.
Goes in. 5 minutes later, he comes out. Yeah, he's setting up a TV. It's and I remember like my heart, like it was like so, oh, you're not shit, Ryan. Like, this is not that cool. Like, whatever. I have my opinions on it. I don't know if you fully understand what was happening.
Yes.
Give Laird the benefit of the doubt there. Anyways, it was one of those like, oh, I will remember this forever. Chip on my shoulder. Like,
okay, so make that's a moment where you're like, all right, maybe we need to be a little more hands-on or like set up an expectation.
Yeah, it was like, look, I can't make a loss impact cloud the 9 other wins that we had.
Sure.
So it's like, what's the outsized return here?
Yeah.
And it's this direction has worked.
Yeah.
Can't let this one cloud the conversation. But yeah, definitely turned into the next phase of influencer marketing was like, as the scale got bigger, that's when it's like, oh, we need contracts.
Okay, yeah.
And we need deliverables.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You got your early wins. You've got friggin' the Mount Rushmore of wellness influencers. I mean,
it was wild.
That is incredible. Okay, so then how did it shift? So you had the pandemic, first of all, which just like, I guess, took off. Yep. And the factors are what? That people are at home. So there's all these industries that have boomed. We were talking before on camera, like golf has boomed in COVID, in-home gyms, Peloton. A lot of those things spiked and then kind of came down. Where do you think the market is for cold plunge, sauna?
I mean, cold didn't really even have a market. It's obviously way up from where it started, but it was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
I do think the market, which we can get into kind of competition, and there's probably been more entrants than where the market's growing there in the cold side. I think health and wellness in general, all trends are continuously rising in dollars spent across the board there, from products to ecotourism to all sorts of stuff. So I think that's like growing.
Ecotourism, what is that?
More like wellness tourism is what I want to say.
Got it.
Like more like boutique hotels, hospitality, experiential.
Got it.
Like that side to it that kind of fits into this.
It's like a wellness hotel.
Yeah.
Like because I think about this a lot. When I go on the road now, I don't have my plunge. I don't have my sauna. I'm like, where can I jump in?
You talked about AG1, you're connecting with later. It's like, AG1 has a ton of partnerships on hospitality. If you start to notice, some hotels you'll check in, there'll be AG1 on
That's right.
when you check in and you can get a drink of. So anyways, that's an emerging space. So I think that's all growing. I think the other factor that played into this was health was at the forefront. With COVID, maybe it wasn't talked about in like a public sector, but in a cultural sector, it was like health is more important than ever now. You have this COVID-19 that people are like, what are the, determining factors of it's your health.
Yep.
And so that was in the conversation.
That's true.
So people were looking at alternative way. It became, I think that accelerated it. So that was a key ingredient. Yeah. And I think cold's gone through an interesting world where it came onto the scene and it was on every Instagram post.
Yep.
It was the silver bullet. It can do no wrong. It is the greatest wonder treatment of all time, which it's naturally going to swing to the other way.
Totally.
And you had a lot of the bodybuilders. It stunts my gains. It's bullshit.
Women, it's not good.
Exactly. So you kind of get that click side that comes in. It's now I'm starting to see, just like any normal thing, it comes back to like there's a positive way to do it and a negative way to do it. Yep. There is education around it.
Yep.
It's like working out. It's like running. It can hurt you and it can help you. So I think that's it's becoming more normalized. And sauna is definitely, we're seeing it's having a moment right now. A lot of studies coming out around that.
Totally.
That's probably.
And so you guys just jumped to the sauna market, what, a year ago?
About
Longer?
18 months ago.
Okay, yeah.
So we launched in the traditional sauna space, which the sauna you have.
Yeah, it's incredible.
High heat. That was something we really wanted to. Most of the studies around sauna are in this like 165, 170 north zone.
Yes.
So we wanted to make sure we had a product that matched that. And so the traditional was, and there wasn't a ton of companies that were cold. We were like category creator. Mm-hmm. Sauna existed.
Yes.
What can we do that's different to actually find our niche in this space?
Well, the thing that I've been really pleased with, my friend who got me into the contrast therapy, the same guy who had the meat locker, he then invested in one of the barrel saunas. And it was great. And he's like rigged it up to where it can go to like 220. Like he's like a sicko. Shout out to my buddy David. Also recovered dopamine. This is like extreme personality.
We tend to find that. It's like legal drugs here.
It's pretty awesome. But it's that kind of traditional thing. And he offered to let me use it a couple times, but it would be like, you have to flip on some breaker and you turn this thing past this and then you turn it back. And it's this weird, I don't know. It was like very different. So I was a little, and then I've seen friends who have like the red light sauna.
Like
infrared.
Yep.
And see, my buddy, I went and sat in one of those. I was like, when is it going to get hot? Yeah. It's like, wasn't at all. And so when this came, I was so impressed by like just turning on the app. It's like ready in 10, 20 minutes. I go out there and it is blazing. It's incredible because it's got the rocks.
Yep.
But it feels like that modern style where the thing I love is that you can like lean back and it's quite angular and I'm a little bit of a aesthetic bougie bitch, and so it looks beautiful.
It was an advantage for us because when we got in the sauna game, it wasn't a part of the original vision. Obviously, our original vision was let's build 20 of these, and like that was the business plan. But we started to get, hey, would you guys ever sell a sauna, or who do you recommend? And then we surveyed our customer base, and like 40% were like, we're looking to buy right now.
Oh, wow.
So that's when we went out and spent about 15 to 18 months really designing and developing this sauna. We brought on some, what we called like certified sauna nerds that were building these custom saunas out of Wisconsin, and they co-designed this with us.
Cool.
But we didn't have a background. So we were kind of coming up with ideas of like this angle back.
Yeah.
We were like, why isn't a sauna like, I don't want to sit like this.
Right.
Like I want to sit comfortably. And they're like, well, it's a really hard design for it to fit, to have an ergonomic back.
Yeah.
We're like, well, let's figure it out. So it was like, we didn't have like constraints of how we thought about it. So that was a win for us into like, we want a high heat. We want something that's beautiful. We want it sharp edges. Like you're all in. You're, the Plunge was a very distinct look. We wanted our Plunge sauna to be like, I know what brand that is.
You've done a great job on it. And, I'm a little peculiar about the look and I want it to be like nice and angular. And when you survey the market, you see like pretty quickly, like there's some stuff that's like, that may be functional, but that is not fashionable or nice to look at. You don't want that thing in your backyard or whatever. So that was version 1.0. Let's talk about social. So was it Plunge? You had the handle and you were posting this stuff? Like you mentioned, hey, we're going on this road trip to all these influencers. Was that y'all doing kind of like a founder-led social strategy, if you want to call it a strategy?
Yeah, we knew founder forward content was going to be important. We wanted to build trust. You're buying a $8,000 unit.
Yep.
How do we get these people to understand like we're real? Like this is real humans that care deeply about this.
Yep.
Understand what this product does. So that was like our thoughtful way of doing it. I think we had the handle at the.coldplunge was what was available, which we ended up with. Now we have at Plunge on IG, which was its own dark arts of like you go get these things. And like, that was its own day where we had to like give this rando access to our account.
Oh my God.
And we had to transfer the money. And then it was like the money came. I'm like, oh, this is like a secret world on the inside that these you're connected and you're like, I have access to this account. You want to go sell it to this person? Anyway,
so you paid 6 figures for your website.
For the domain.
Yeah. And then for an Instagram handle, what was the running?
I think that might have been $5-10 grand.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I for years, the kid, whoever had Jordan Rogers just straight up on Instagram, took one photo of a bonfire and never posted ever again. And all the comments on it were actually all just like other Jordan Rogers, like 2978 going, dude, what the F? Like it finally had been dark for like 10 years or something. And I was able to get it like, I think just last year for the first time.
Who did you get it through?
I was looking into these third-party sources, but then was able to find a more direct connection. So.
I swear these third-party sources either work or have their best friend that works in IG, and it's some side perk of working.
That's what happened. But I have people at Instagram that I know as well, so that helped.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the handle. Y'all are running founder-led content. What's your kind of evolution then in 2.0? You start signing other influencers. How's it evolve?
Obviously, we had product market fit first and foremost.
Yeah.
So we had an interesting product.
Yeah.
So we had a ton of inbound. It was never really, we still haven't really done any outbound. It's always been like, who's interested?
Yeah.
And let's start there. I'm not here to convince anyone about cold plunging.
Yeah.
If you're into this, let's start working together. And so
that was how we started. I mean, I think some people think, our social profiles, like all the brand fathers have grown, but I've always started with like, I teach a workshop on personal branding to like a lot of college athletes and people. I called it, my initial version was like branding, bartering, and blessings. And bartering to me was always in the early days of Instagram, it was just like, how do I find the brands and the people that I actually like and work with? And I know everybody's been so jaded by influencer marketing, but there are a lot of these relationships that start where I'm like DMing, going like, dude, I love your stuff.
Yep.
How can we work together? And I think those are like the synergy. Okay, so that's a good founding principle. Like you're just finding people who are interested in you
frictionless.
First. Yeah.
There. How do we? And we had obviously our products at a high AOV or high ticket price. So it's like
AOV.
Average order value.
Yeah. Okay.
That we were able to, there's real trade that can happen.
Yeah.
Like at the time, like this is back 2021, even into 2022, like an organic post on Meta meant a lot.
Yeah.
Like we could get crazy reach. And so we would do trade for people of like,
Sure.
Can you just do a post and do something there? We went down that road. We had a lot of just like wins and we were kind of taking what came. And there was bringing on our team, a lot of just like, call it in the trenches, like, okay, let's do a deal there. Let's do a deal there. It wasn't overly sophisticated.
Yeah.
It was like, let's get a unit out. And we did our marketing budget. We didn't really do a ton of paid ad. We did some Google stuff. We did some pretty unsophisticated Meta stuff early on, but not a huge budget.
Yeah.
And it was really organic stuff. We would just get a ton of units out.
And so what were the partnerships that gave you the biggest, Huberman?
Well, Huberman's always been like to be attached there and be early with him at his rise. And we ended up paying on the pod. So we went that route, but we've never really paid him anything.
Yeah.
We haven't. Actually, we advertise on the podcast, but it's been an organic relationship. The big one was Shark Tank. When we went on Shark Tank, we went on September of 21. It aired May of 22. And that's, been our biggest still, we still see a 3 to 4% attribution on that. It's, fundamentally like huge for our business.
What does 3 to 4% attribution mean?
It means, and we have our post-purchase survey, which directionally kind of gives us where people are, referral from a friend, past customer, this podcast, Meta, and about 3 to 4% self-identify, like I learned about you through Shark Tank.
Got it.
So, and that's, 3 years later, that video of Robert getting in the plunge, millions of views on YouTube. You just check it out.
I'm going to mark it. Yeah. We'll have it here on the thing.
It's a great, so it was like awesome experience as a founder to just be on that stage with them. We had multiple offers. You're having Robert actually do an authentic cold plunge. Like we had cold water on the site. It was like this whole logistics operation of how to do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a, net win. And the thing with the Shark Tank world is it's not just like the reach. You get the recurring shows. So you're getting back on.
Oh yeah. Pre-runs.
That like spike in traffic. That shows. It's obviously streaming all the time, but it's this army of like media people that just report on Shark Tank, bloggers, Instagrammers. Like it's just its own ecosystem that you now get this SEO rise that now you had 50 people write different articles about you.
Interesting.
Or where's Plunge 2 years later?
Yeah.
And we get these updates that come. So it's its own, it's its own organic ecosystem that raises you up.
So like vertical video, you said organic social was doing really well for y'all. The podcast now you have like in a world where Huberman's pushing you on pod, and then you add television into the mix.
Yeah, the television, just that episode, it brought some credibility to cold plunging, the concept, like, it was that white tub online, huge win there. I mean, we were still doing a ton of, gifting, I call it gifting. It was now at this point, we had a huge budget for tubs going out, which we had to really build some infrastructure to it into contracts. Cause at that point now we're getting bit by, I'm amazed at how many people don't do what they say they're going to do, which I had to learn. Like, my natural state is trusting, which I appreciate and still like.
Yeah.
But there's a lot out there that.
So what's an example of that? Like some FitFam influencer will say, hey, I'll do.
Yeah. They reach out. It's in the DMs. Hey, let's do something. You're interested, like you kind of fit where we want to go. Cool. We do we'll send you a tub. If you could do a post and 3 stories.
Yeah.
Great. And we kind of look off of their engagement.
Sure.
Their, what we thought was fair for the value. And we'd always be like, does this feel fair to you?
Yeah.
And always be a yes. And then we just had some that would, at some point not do anything. And we're following up and, you got Adam that's just like, hey, what's going on here? And, I would say that happens less than most.
Sure.
But it just got us to the spot of like, okay, if we're going to go at this scale still, we need some real infrastructure into how we're managing this.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's like, there's nothing worse when expectations from both sides aren't clear.
Yep.
And that is where we had to grow up to be like, okay, Burning Man gifting culture worked here for these like 8 people, but that doesn't work at like scale.
I love that. Maybe that'll be our title: Burning Man gifting culture, and the rise of full plunge. Okay, now what do you feel like is y'all's biggest like growth driver? You said social is maybe not as the organic social is harder.
It's organics hard. I mean, like I said, back in the day, cold plunging was like the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
So we were in vogue, and we could do no wrong. Like we were one of the only brands out. So we do a post on anything, and we get 6-figure views in there. That doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Obviously the algorithms change.
Yep.
Cold plunging as an industry has people move on to the next hottest thing. So it's natural evolution. So we need to figure out like what is one thing that we're doing that does really well right now is like whitelisting with partners.
Yep.
That's kind of and we've built a lot of these relationships, and this is kind of the next phase of like, it's kind of a win-win. We get partners that help create really good ad creative.
Yep.
And, we put spend behind it. They get money on revenue and sales. And so it's been this natural kind of evolution that works with our partners.
Yeah, this is really good, I think, to think about for people. So whitelisting is when a influencer or someone outside of the brand will create the content. So it sort of looks like a organic post or a story. And then whitelisting is when the brand will come back behind and put money behind it to put spin so that more people see it, right?
Nailed it.
And so that I think gives people, it feels more natural in their feed rather than a brand coming in like, hey, we're here to sell you something. And it's more in line. So
the messaging you can take, because like if you whitelist a partner, you have better signal already of who their community is.
Yeah.
So the algorithm knows and so then it's tailoring the right message and letting because right now it's like you can get in and toggle all the things in Meta. That might have worked 3 years ago. Now creative really leads the algorithm. So the message will find the right people. If it's a guy that's 60 years old, that's super healthy, focused on testosterone and what the cold plunge is, this natural form, it's like, that's one message that we just film with him.
Yeah.
And that'll find his people
right
and resonate with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've done a couple that I've been thinking about that I do actually want to talk about because y'all have expanded into different markets. So it feels like you started in like I just call it the Fit Fam, like hashtag
like
Fit Fam, which to me is perhaps outside of fashion is like probably the biggest influencer industry. It's just naturally, I think you just look at people who are fit and you're like, I want to be like that. So there's the Fit Fam. And then it seems like you guys started to participate in like running events last year, the rise of run clubs. You were at things like Coachella maybe or
Coachella, Stagecoach.
Yeah, Stagecoach. And I think there's even like, I've been telling Adam and people like, I think golf is really interesting. You have kind of a more affluent market who wants to keep their body well enough to play their game. And so I have this concept in the summer, and we're doing ad creative where I talk about plunge, play, plunge. Plunge, play, plunge concept for me is like this golfer mentality, and the best feeling in the world is coming back after playing 18 holes in 100 degrees and like jumping in that cold plunge is so freaking amazing. But that algorithm would then find the golfing audience, or when you're tapping into runners and run clubs, you're tapping into the run audience.
Totally.
Are there any other markets that y'all are looking at? They're like emerging kind of sport. Have you stayed in the health and wellness? Are you expanding into sports?
We've actually kind of intentionally stayed away from like sports.
Okay.
Our reasoning has been first, especially the major sports.
Yeah.
The cost usually, we're still an emerging brand.
Yeah.
There's only so many dollars to spend.
Sure.
We have to be scrappy in how we go about it. Usually those are outsized dollars that we have to spend that I don't know if we'll ever see the return.
Yeah.
Like where we at,
fair.
we have to make our bets that there is some ROI in sight for us.
Yeah.
And, we have to be strategic there. I do think it is something I've been thinking about more lately. Sometimes I wish we did it earlier on, but just where we're at, it's like fine. We've never like really had a face to the brand, like a true quote unquote icon or like really well known.
Yeah.
And it could be an NFL player. It could be finding that right partner that I'm intrigued by of like, oh, we can really storytell long-term around this person.
Yeah.
And I think there was an opportunity probably even more when we were early.
Yep.
And we're like the new kid on the block and you can do it. So that would be one I'd reflect on and be like, man, there was probably that opportunity. We can still do it now, but earlier on, people love like when it's early and are we getting into something exciting?
We can wrap here pretty soon.
If we're talking about marketing, what works are really revamping our email channels.
Oh,
It's been substantial. Segmentate. Obviously, we introduced a new product now. So there's like a whole new segmentation of like our cold customers. We would love to be selling them a sauna. Vice versa, a sauna purchaser, how do we get them educated on cold or contrast therapy and why they would, that was a big reason why we launched new products so we can actually, increase this lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah.
And then a big one that we've introduced that I'm really excited on is what we call our Plunge Club newsletter. It's bi-weekly right now, or I guess bi-monthly, but really just super value driven. Like we try not to sell anything in there. This week was all about Alzheimer's and how health and wellness modalities can help with because it's Alzheimer's month. So that's like been it's actually our best performing email from a revenue standpoint, but it's never selling a single thing.
So you're just providing value. Here's health and wellness tips. And then you have like at the bottom or at the end somewhere integration.
There was a lot of them weren't even integrating. Some were like taking back to blogs on our site or, we try and kind of redirect people.
Yeah.
But it was more of, I think, just like anything. You don't ask. Sometimes you just provide value. And it increased our open rates in general, got the account even stronger. So that was something we started doing about 9 months ago.
Okay.
And it's had a big impact.
So provide value in the email.
Provide value in the email. I mean, it's like, it's a fine line. Like we love to sell.
Sure.
And like, how do we get people to not glaze over when our emails come through?
Yeah. Ryan, thanks so much for coming by. Huge fan of the product. Brand fathers love the Plunge. To anybody who wants to check out Plunge and find out more, where can they find out more about Plunge?
Plunge.com.
Plunge.com, the six-figure website.
Not Plunge the jazz band.
No.
Plunge.com, the cold plunge brand.
Amazing, man. Thanks for coming through.
Thanks for having me on, man.